keep up to date with our latest videos, please hit the button below.
Hi there, welcome to this video from racingbetdata.com. This video is intended to wrap up the month of October. So those of you who I'm sure have read the tweets and watched the videos, we embarked on a journey a month ago, 1st of October, where the objective was to test or create, test and deploy a set and forget lay system. So we did that, created it, implemented it, deployed it, and ran it throughout October. And we have the results. So I started with a £500 bank, ran this every day. There were a couple of bets I think that we missed throughout the month, and that was due to mostly issues with Betfair, I think, where they took a while to settle the market, which meant a couple of bets we didn't have the liability to cover them all because of the delays in settling the previous bets, which meant a couple got missed, but very small amounts. So you can see £500 bank that we started with doubled, more than doubled, and here's the screen, and we can pop in some other dates here just to sort of scroll through and have a look at where we profited throughout the months. I've got all of the pages in here, which show the profit loss that we made throughout the month. And pop it onto just to look at yesterday's, because yesterday actually happened to be one of the best months that we days that we had within the month. So you can see there that we made a nice £576.96 profit. We had some losing months, some losing days within that month, which I fully expected, and we covered that within the initial video where I said that there's going to be short-term variance, and it wouldn't have surprised me if we made a smaller profit than that. The anticipated amount was about £14 a day, looking at the historic profit and loss. So if we take £14 over 30 days, we would expect it to have made a profit of around about £420 on average. Some months will be higher, there might be some losing months in there, and this month, as it turned out, was a little bit higher. So this video, what we're going to do is just go back through the month, go back through what we did, how we automated and deployed it, and look at some of the questions that people had asked along the road on the journey. So I'm going to take you through those now. Okay, so let's bring up the PowerPoint documentation that I originally used for the video at the beginning. Let me just bring this one up onto the main screen. So this was titled "How to Create, Test and Deploy a Set and Forget Lay System." We went through the agenda steps on this. So obtaining and maintaining the data, we showed you how you can do that. And what we're about to do is make this an awful lot easier for you. So we use the data dashboard. Now I'm on the test site here because we are nearing completion of the addition of these filters that you're going to see down the bottom here, supplementary filters. So on the live site at the moment, these filters are not visible because we are still testing, tweaking, making sure that all of the outputs in the profitability tables account for these correctly and these work in the way they should. So we're not rushing this. It's been a busy month, other things going on, and a lot of user requests as well, which slow things down. And we're also adding in the Betfair rank into the output. So this is something that has been requested multiple times. We're going to add it to the end of the columns, so you'll be able to see the Betfair rank, and more importantly for people, the export in the profitability table. So if I just generate yesterday's results, just so you can see what I'm talking about here. I know it's been a bit of a bone of contention for people for a couple of months, years maybe, that the profit table refers to the favourites as per the industry odds. So let's scroll to the bottom here. Now I'm going to apologise for any interference. I think Storm Kieran's well on its way into the UK. So any background wind and rain, I apologise if that does affect the audio quality. But I was talking about the Betfair SP. So we're going to be adding the Betfair SP rank to this table. It's not in there yet, but on the right hand side, we will be adding a new column, Betfair SP rank, because on the very small occasions, the SP rank for the industry odds will be different to the Betfair odds. Sometimes, usually affecting the favourite if there's a very tight odds market. Sometimes the industry favourite will be different to the Betfair favourite. And as I was saying, up until now, the favourites using Betfair odds and Betfair place odds has been determined by who the favourite was on the industry odds, even though we're talking Betfair odds here. So if that's made it a little bit confusing, I apologise. Hopefully now, once we get this new column added and the reference to that added, these favourites will be directly linked to the favourites in that Betfair market, and the favourites using the industry odds will be directly correlated to the industry odds. So that set us back a little bit, but it's been requested quite a few times. Understand why people would want that, and that will make these tables a bit more relevant, I guess, even more so than they are now. So that's being worked on, and as I said, we're adding these new filters in here, so this will give you additional controls, so you don't have to export en masse and then do your filtering in Excel. You can do that filtering and testing in here using all of these new filter controls. So that is going to be a really big benefit, going to speed up the time it takes, give you even more control, and make it easier and quicker for people to be able to do their testing. And then you can obviously save your criteria using the Manage Selections panel here, and you can add those in as you require. So back to the agenda. That was obtaining and maintaining the data. Now what we did, we built in a big database where I exported, like I said, everything was exported en masse, and I continued to do that throughout the month. So not only were we placing these bets trades on Betfair, which we'll come on to in a second, I was also exporting the data every day and adding this in and tracking it this way to make sure what we were seeing and generating was the same as what the data suggested. Now on sheet 1 here, here's the pivot table. So you can see, as I spoke about already, there were slightly more races that the data suggested compared to the 623 that we actually placed. And that's because, like I said, a couple of them were missed because our bank liability or liquidity was tied up on races that had taken a while to be settled. That's where those ones were missed. But overall, we ended up with a £576 profit. I think it was. Give me a sec. I'll just open up my other screen. Yeah, £576 profit, whereas the selections here showed that we were actually, if we had managed to get everything on, if we had an infinite bank, we would have had another £40 in the profit pot. I've blanked out this top bit here because this is where we use our filter controls to determine the selections. Now those selections will all be filters that we're adding into that dashboard. So everything we've done in here has been done in Excel. What I was saying a minute ago was you'll be able to use the dashboard to generate, test, and look at the output and hone in on those systems. We've blanked it out here. These are a couple of methods we've spoken to with existing long-term members. They've not given us a system. We've spoken to them about ideas and approaches, and we've actually gone away and done that testing. As you will have seen in the video that we released at the beginning of October, those selections were generated, and this is where the profit and the testing is logged. So you can see we're looking at two markets here. We're looking at the place market, as we have the place odds, Betfair place odds in the dashboard, and we're looking at the main SP win market here. And then we have the total down the back end column. And as I said previously, there are some losing months in there. To generate any system, that doesn't have a period of downturn, almost impossible. We covered it in the original video. There may well be months where you do have a loss, but it's checking this confidence level, paper trading, trading at small stakes until you have earned that confidence. And as you can see here, October, we generated a £615 profit, which if you look at the average per month, £328 profit, which, like I said, equates to about £14 a day, a little bit lower than £14 a day. We've got the biggest win, biggest loss months in there, the number of bets that we've made, the return on investment, the average odds, and we've calculated the standard deviation, the test statistic, and the p-value, which gives the probability if we were to have placed all of these from the outset. Now, this is the thing we've covered in the original video. The t-testing and p-value really should only be used forward thinking with any accuracy. So it's good to use it to give you an idea, but the danger is you've backfitted a system to fit. So you've picked your selections, you've honed in and found profit, and then you've gone, well, let's exclude any tracks that where races happen after 3 p.m. Unless there's a tangible reason why you would do that, you're backfitted to make your figures look better, and you shouldn't be doing that. You should be paper trading your full system, generating the selections, and then monitoring the p-value as you go over a period of months. But that's the obtaining and maintaining of the data. So just as important as getting those bets and trades placed is using the data. And you don't have to do it on a daily basis. You can export a week's worth or a couple of days at a time, or even a full month's worth. But ongoing maintenance to make sure that what you're seeing in Betfair is what the data is telling you, and identifying any downturn, any trends that are perhaps changing as well. So whatever your system, whatever your strategy, whether it's horse racing, whether it's football, important to continue to keep your databases maintained and up to date. So back to the agenda as it was. So that was obtaining, maintaining the data. So I'm just going to toggle through that again. Give me a sec. I'm trying to operate a couple of screens here. So we covered this in the initial video, creating the strategy with the data. So that's what I did in Excel. We're making that a whole lot easier for you when we deploy and release the additional dashboard features on top of what we've already got. You've also got your pre-race download files, you've got your results and odds files, and we've got numerous videos on our YouTube channel that explain angles and approaches that you might want to take, generated to give you an idea and start thinking in a different means, not to specifically say, here's something on a plate for you, go and do that. Because if all of our followers, members did that, then that edge would potentially be eroded. Certainly a market such as the place market, where the liquidity is a lot lower. So that's how we created the strategy. We tested it using our p-value, our significance file, which is available on the example downloads page here. Example downloads, go to that page here. The statistical relevance file, free for everybody who wants it to download and use. That's what we've incorporated in our main Excel file. That's how we created the strategy. Then we tested it for significance using that file. We embedded the same calculations so we could automatically program it on the data set that we had. And then the short-term variance. So we had days, and I posted a couple of these on Twitter, where we had a 4 or 5 day period where the bank dropped by about £125. That was to be expected. Somebody who comes into it and started trading on that first day of the 5 and then have 5 negative days, they're going to go, oh my God, this is useless. I'm going to start doing the opposite. I'm going to back at SP instead of laying. Well, we already had that big selection of data. We had the confidence levels tested. We knew that there would be some downturns. You cannot win every day. So we knew that would eventually even out and in fact turn back the other way, as it did within the month of October. So the automation side of it, so this is where we had some questions, and I'm just going to have a quick glance through some of these questions that we received on some of the posts that we made. So we were asked, when will the rest of the data from the daily download be in the dashboard? So I've covered that already. So the data is in the dashboard already. If we go back to the dashboard itself. So when you export from the dashboard, all of those newly added columns are available on the live site for everybody to look into. The Betfair rank, that will be added at the same time that we release all these new filters. So we've spoken about the filters already. So those will be added as soon as the testing is done and complete, and we're happy that we can roll it out. But these columns have all been added in and are all available for you to use, which are the ones from the pre-race daily download. Other comments that we had. So somebody specifically said one of the difficulties is inserting data from Excel and executing it in Grus. I hope you can explain. Well, our initial video did explain the naming convention and showed you the bot. So I don't want to go back through everything that we said in that initial video. But if we look at the bots that we built, so we have the selection column in here, and then we have the selection tab where we add the selections into the Excel bot directly from our racing bet data outputs. And then we do the small conversion. So I spoke about this in the initial video. So I recommend anybody that's not watched that fully to go back and watch that again, because we explain the text before function, we explain the find function where we look for any horses with a suffix. So that's the only occasion where there should be there may be a slightly different naming convention between our data outputs and those used by Betfair. 99.9% of horses will be a direct match. So I know that some sites, they use different commas and apostrophes where Betfair don't use any. Our data outputs have no apostrophes or commas in the horse names. The only thing that we have that might be slightly different is where there's what we call a dual active horse. So two horses that are running, have their careers overlapping, and they have the same name. So we denote the difference using the country of origin suffix. And by using this column in here, that removes that suffix with this formula, and the selection can then be found within the selection name. So it's looking for the horse name, it's looking to see if there's a match, and that's then generating our selection. Okay. The bot discussion, like I said, covered in detail on the original video, and then feeding the bot, that's the part that we've just spoken about. Our outputs can be used whether you're using the pre-race download file, whether you're using outputs directly from the dashboard, however you want to do it. The names are consistent. You've generated your selections, you've got your system, you've got your strategy in place. You can then import them each morning, and people can even do that automatically. I was doing it manually myself, but those can be done. You can automate the whole thing, start to end. So it triggers as soon as the site's updated. You go and get your data, you filter it, you export the list that meet your criteria, and then you plop them in your Excel bot, and that is linked to Grus or BetAngel or Geeks Toy, whatever you're using as your trading platform. Grus works best in connection with our data purely for the Excel linkability. Many of our users do the same, but others, it's free choice if you wanted to use a different method. But that was the question that we were asked, was linking Excel to Grus. There shouldn't really be any issue in terms of the horse selections, apart from where there's that suffix, and we covered that in the initial video. So we were also asked, are we going to provide an automated service once you're happy with the results? Well, that's not the aim at all. The aim was to detail how you can use our data, how you can test it, how you can develop, create, maintain a database, generate selections, feed them into a bot, create your bot, link it to Grus, monitor it, and see how you go. There's absolutely no benefit in me coming out and saying, here you go, guys, this is what you need to do. These are the criteria parameters you need to follow. Everybody go and do that, because I guarantee if you had 800 people or even 80 people going off and trying to do the same thing, various different stake levels, people would get different results. People wouldn't all get matched at the same price. And then you'd get some unhappy people saying, well, I'm not getting the results that this person's getting, or what you're saying, or what you're publicizing, because you're shifting the market, you're removing that edge. Spoken about it already. You can't expect a system that's tailored for one person, one individual, or a small selection of individuals to be rolled out en masse without it having any effect on that market. We're not a tipping service. So we're not providing an automated service. We're a data provider. That's our role, where we fit into it. Gruss are the automated platform providers, as our BetAngel, as our Geeks Toy. We provide the part that you need to test, develop, create your systems. They provide the tool for you to place those trades in the market as you see fit to create. We also had some comments more when we posted on the 27th of October, where we showed that small downturn. A couple of members said that they've seen a downturn as well over the same sort of time period. So it's likely that we're looking at similar strategies, if not exactly the same. And the results over those course of days affected us as it possibly did affect others. You hear about these peaks and troughs of where bookies take a hit, where favourites are either winning or favourites are losing, and that flow continues as a trend, but the bookies in the end generally will make money. So you know that they might experience that downturn. So people who experience that same or similar downturn over that 5-day period towards the end of the month, hopefully they saw what we saw towards the last couple of days, where there was an exponential growth and ended on the last day of the month with the best day that we had throughout the month. So that's the reason we shared it, because we didn't want people thinking, oh God, another image of a 3-4 day profit. It was important to say that there has been a bit of a lull here, and the bank did drop. And then again, obviously at the end of the month, when we did the full summary, we showed that the things had turned back again. So that was the purpose in highlighting that to people. And the same reason we added it in the original video, to say that it's not a smooth vertical line in one direction. There will be bumps, there will be peaks, there will be troughs. But if you get your system, your strategy right, you test it, and you rely on that data, if you've got something robust over the course of a long period of time, whether that, depending on how many selections you're generating, whether that's a month, whether it's quarter, half a year, or a full year, you should see an increase from point A through to point B. So other questions that were asked were talking about the maximum liability. So we did one of the rules, if you like, that we have within the sheet here is around the odds. So there will be a maximum that we're prepared to enter at, and that is controlled by the bot and determined in the selections that we've tested. So there is a point that we use as the odds to reference where we make a selection, or if a selection becomes null and void, controlled by the bot, to ensure that we're not encroaching any differently to the way we tested. We had a question about the initial video being very clearly explained, so it's always great to receive that feedback from people. That sometimes when you're talking into a screen on your own, you make sense to yourself, but it's nice to hear that feedback, that what you're explaining is understood and taken on board by other members. And then that user went on to talk about a specific criteria that they've looked into, and whether it's reasonable to move forwards with it. And I think the key thing to elaborate on, as explained there, would be use the significant testing file, paper trial it for a period of time, and then when you do embark, use small stakes and continue to monitor it. Continue to monitor it with the outputs from us, the data, feed your database, keep that updated, and make sure it's aligning to what you're actually seeing in the Betfair markets, and continue to test at various stages. So you might have done your p-value, you got your t-test has been conducted, and then you go live with small stakes. It's equally important to t-test that period, whether it's a month or 2 months, to see if you're getting the same p-value scores or heading in that direction as you build up more selections. We were also asked, somebody said they joined the free account to have a look if they could understand and make it work, but the daily data is 2020. Thought we'd have an actual day data chart or two so we can make it work. Well, I don't really know what that user was looking at or finding, because the data, as all of you know who use this, is updated every day, usually before 8 a.m, but the commitment is to have that there for 9 a.m. I don't know if they were filtering something out or looking at something totally different, but it's all there. It simply won't work for us, simply won't work for you as users. So I think that's potentially user error. If they're using a free account, the outputs they were getting would be restricted. So I can only assume that user hasn't upgraded and joined and seen that the full set of data is in fact there. So that one can only put it down to user inexperience or error. We're also asked about stake liability. So that was explained in the initial video. Place market is a £10 stake, and the win market £5. And the liabilities are dictated by the odds, and then we have the odds brackets as we've just covered already. Was also asked if it's lay to back or back to lay. No, this was a pure experiment, straight laying. There was no trading out on this one. We have done videos which do detail and show how you can potentially make systems or strategies using trading. So when you're putting one bet in the market to enter with the intention of then exiting, whether it be higher or lower, whichever way you're doing it first. But this was detailed as a pure straight lay system. We had a comment as well about great results, any football data. So we obviously have our sister site, footballbetdata.com. There are videos on our YouTube channel detailing potential ways to look at football data. I think I covered it in the initial video that there's more variables with football because it's a team game and there are more outside influences that can affect it. But we do plan to generate a video, hopefully, that we can share and show everybody that will focus on football and hopefully be able to test it in the same way that we have done here, because it was quite an exciting thing for us to be able to do. Just having a look through any other comments. I think we probably have covered all of them. Somebody just said they've watched the videos, looks promising, and set up a results spreadsheet as described. Found the video very informative, experimenting with the filters on finding profitable angles, but the majority tend to be high BSP odds. Well, having high odds, if you're testing it and it's still giving you a good p-value, then you know that's the system that you're looking at. What it will mean if you're laying at high odds, you'll have a really high strike rate. But if it's a profitable system, it's a profitable system, right? You've just got to have the bank in place to prepare and account for any downturns. If you're backing at high BSP, then your strike rate's going to be low. So you might go days and days and weeks on end where your bank's dropped and is losing, in the hope and knowledge that you will eventually hit a winner at some point in time, if that's what the data's showed you. So the odds are irrelevant really, because they're a factor that's considered when you use the statistical relevance tool. And if your p-value is giving you a confidence level that means that the system looks reliable and steady, then it's only your mind really that's a restricting factor on the odds. And again, that's why automating a system can help, because if you're not at your desk, if you're not watching it, you're not physically placing that, you're relying on the automation to handle those as instructed by your systems, then it takes that human element away. And again, we spoke about that in the initial video itself. Just to have a final look through, there was a comment about whether we're using a percentage of the bank rather than a fixed stake. No, covered that already. So it was a £10 fixed stake for the place market and £5 fixed stake for the win market. So the win market odds typically higher, the place market odds lower. If you're betting at Betfair SP, which we were, you have to have a minimum of £10 liability in there. There was a comment as well, say you use other criteria, not those from the video. Well, we didn't divulge the criteria in the video, and we've gone over that, the reasons given numerous times. So there's nothing really more to say on that. The criteria that we've used is in that Excel sheet, all governed by outputs from the that you can use from the dashboard or from the pre-race download file. And like I said, soon you'll be able to do these direct filtering from the dashboard itself rather than exporting bigger chunks of data and then doing your filtering within Excel. And then there was another comment saying, do you give us the selection of horses or do we have to pick them ourselves? Well, I've covered that. It's we're not a tipping service. We're not going out and saying these are your selections, because you end up doing that. You fall flat on your face. People are all trying to get on, scrambling to get on the same thing. And the minute you've done that, you've lost your edge. The system becomes null and void. It may still be profitable, but certainly not at the levels that we're seeing now. We're not a tipping service. We provide the data for you as users to be able to analyze, interpret, develop, test, create your own systems, your own strategies, or use the data for whatever you want. We're not saying you have to go away and create this amazing automated system. This is purely a video just to show that, the years of experience we have of using the data and looking at it, we've been able to interpret potential edges, speaking to other members who have experience in this as well, and then detailing to you a small snapshot in time, 1 month, of how it was deployed and how it ran. I think there was another comment saying, you're nailing it, bet you're getting a tiny bit excited with the results. I know I would. Scary but exciting. Well, to be honest, no. And again, like I said, you want to take the emotion out of it. Although we were tracking this and giving updates throughout the month, it was more or less tracking as expected until the last day or two, where we probably exceeded the run rate. So we might, you might go into November and see a slight downturn, because these things do peak and trough, as I've said. So you've got to remove that emotion. Well, from this strategy we did, the part of the reason for automating it was you don't get too low when you have that 5-day downturn, and you don't get overexcited when you have a good 5, 6, 7 days or whatever it may be. You're looking at the long term, and as long as that system is following along the path that you expect it or have seen before, then there's no reason to get emotionally attached to it. So in essence, it performed as we expected it to perform, really. And I think that closed out all of the comments that we had. So just to come on to these closing points and monitoring the performance, again, just to reiterate, short-term variance, don't make knee-jerk adjustments. Don't start saying, oh, I've got to take out this jockey. Unless there's a specific reason that you're taking out a jockey, or times of races or tracks or whatever it might be, there's no need to make that knee-jerk. If you've done your test and you've done your diligence, then that system should be trusted to ride out over a period of time. Continue to monitor and continue to use the data and update your daily databases. Be business-like. So, like I said, it's not betting blind. We're using the data. We've developed an advantage that we're using for ourselves. Test it to know your bankroll will generate a profit over the long period. Obviously, you've got to be stake dependent within that. We had a couple of days or a couple of issues in races where races overlapped. They ran a bit late, took a bit longer than it normally did to settle a market, which meant our bank liquidity was tied up in other races that hadn't been settled, which meant races that were coming in behind, we couldn't get our full stakes on, so we missed a couple of bets. But using your bank as a capital investment, so we doubled our bank in the course of 30 days. £500, you put that into a savings account, you'd be lucky to probably generate £10 over the course of a month, if that. We've doubled it. It might be November comes along and that reduces. It's all about the long term. Don't know how many times we can say it, but that's what you're looking at, your long-term goal. Stick to the plan. Don't discount certain days of the week. You know, this is all the stuff we've spoken about. I spoke about it at the beginning of the month. I'm speaking about the same stuff at the end of the month. And then setting your expectations. It's not about ecstasy, misery. That was the question about getting excited and not. I don't know if that person watched the full video, but absolutely not. Remove the emotional side of things. If somebody was looking at this at the beginning and saying, oh, you got £500 bank, you want to turn it into $500,000, that was just a complete unrealistic expectation. What we did was looking on average to win £10-15 per day on average over the course of the month. And that's pretty much what we did. There's no long-term strategy or testing associated with that type of betting. So those accumulators, fine. If you want to use our football selections or our horse selections for your lucky 15 or your weekend accumulator, then it may give you a bigger edge than just putting a pin on a football coupon. But there's no real long-term strategy with that. Like I said, use that for a bit of fun. Be business-like. If you're looking to develop a long-term strategy to regenerate your bank many times and keep that profit ticking over. Another important thing to mention is making a withdrawal as well. So I'm probably going to roll this into November, but I'll probably take the bank back down to £500 and reinvest that that profit we made elsewhere, probably on the family. So it's a nice bit of reward. But like I said, don't go getting excited and don't go getting despondent. Continue to use the data, continue to monitor, and the steps in this video should help you along your way. Do all that, be diligent with it, don't rush, and you can't go far wrong.